What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Errol, the Truth Spence. You know, it's came to my attention that Errol, the Truth Spence, is not telling the truth at all. That somehow, some reason, he is faking his eye injury. You know, a lot of people are questioning the the legitimacy of the eye injury. It was rather quick. The eye injury was rather quick. You know, what I learned about the eye injury, that it was something that had to be fixed. And, you know, one thing about eye injuries, you don't play with that. And a lot of things that go along with eye injuries, it's time sensitive, right? You know, we don't have a lot of information about what really happened to Errol Spence. So, yeah, you could question that. But the weird thing about this is, like, you see channels that are quickly to defend Errol the Truth Spence, which is okay. But at the same time, what is the urgency for you proving that he's telling a lie? In other words, it's almost like going to police and police asking you one question and you say what else you weren't doing. And the first thing they think of is, well, we didn't ask you about that. And that's the curious thing about it. Like, why would you? I didn't cheat. We never said you did cheat. The eye injury's real. Okay. Nobody said it wasn't. So the first thing I thought of, I'm like, okay, well, why would anyone think that? Until, you know, motive happens. Motive comes into play, okay? And what I mean by that is, like, what would benefit Errol the Truth Spence for not wanting to fight Manny Pacquiao now? Well, that's easy. Your Dennis Ugas has the WBA Super because he was elevated to that status once they snatched it from Manny Pacquiao due to not fighting. So since he didn't fight it for the longest time, they took it away from him and they didn't give it back. They gave it to you, Dennis Ugas. But in this case, Errol Spence could step out, let them duke it out in a hard fight, because this won't be an easy fight for Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? You know, he can throw punches and bunches and he can make a fight look good, but a person like Dennis Ugas is a counterpuncher. He's dangerous, and it's the type of it's the type of fight that you don't want to just spring him on. You know, and if people, I'm not saying Errol Spence is faking. I don't want to give you guys that mindset, but if he was going to pull some slick bullshit, this would be the time. Him or his advisor, quote unquote. They could put into play like, hey, Manny Pacquiao already stated that he will fight Errol Spence after that. That makes him that much older. That makes him that much banged up. If he has a hard fight with you, Dennis Ugas, chances are he will. And even if he beats Ugas, it will be another hurdle that Errol Spence gets past. Because when you're fighting someone like Ugas, Ugas may just have Errol Spence's number. You know, why didn't Errol Spence want to fight Ugas earlier? They couldn't come to an agreement, right? Okay. But then you fight Manny without a belt. But then it's like, okay, is that enough for you to fight Manny without a belt? So if Manny beats you, he came with nothing at all, where you came with 2 belts, the IBF and the WBC. So if he does fight your Dennis Ugas and he beats your Dennis Ugas, right? Okay, then he will come with the WBA Super. So that will be 3 belts. So at least there will be something to gain from Manny Pacquiao, you know, besides legacy. You know, and then hearing, you know, Manny saying, hey, I would fight them after your Ugas fight. He hears that, wonderful. That's an incentive to, hey, fine, you know, bring that WBA belt on. But again, I don't think that's the case. I mean, it could be. I mean, who knows if it is or ain't? I mean, because if Al Heyman orchestrated this, bravo. bravo. I mean, because at the end of the day, you can't prove it. You know what I'm saying? So, what difference does it make? Manny will fight Ugas in a tough fight. Manny will be older. Manny is not an original PBC fighter, so he's not that dude, but he is that dude to market off of. And that will make that fight that much easier for Errol the Truth Spence, because Errol has time to see what they do, put a tough opponent in front of Manny Pacquiao, let them fight for probably 12 rounds. It'll go 12 rounds. And depending on how that fight will go, Manny will be that much older. And by the time he fights Manny Pacquiao, he will be 43 years of age. Then they can set up a fight between Errol the Truth Spence that has 2 belts. He's a unified champion at the same weight class. And you have Manny Pacquiao with the WBA super, because he fought and clawed and did everything he needed to do to beat Yordenis Ugas. And he will be that much older. And see, the factor people need to understand, it's shitty to a certain standpoint because Father Time will eventually beat everybody. Manny's talking and thinking like this motherfucker's going to fight till he's 50. He can't fight till he's 50. In fact, he was talking about this being the last fight. But guess what? Now it adds another fight to Manny Pacquiao to stay on Fox PBC. Now it makes sense for what Canelo wanted to do, or should I say didn't want to do, because of shit like this. And I tell people all the time, Canelo Alvarez did the smartest thing he could have possibly ever done, just to call the bluff to see if they were really serious about only wanting him fighting on their network one time to fight that one fighter. See, for them saying, fuck that, we're not going to do that, says PBC, Al Heyman, that let him know that they had some bullshit just like they're doing to Manny. See, PBC's magical gifts are to stretch fights, prolong fights, add another fight. You know what I mean? That's their forte. See, if that was their whole thing the whole time, now they got Manny in the same situation they wanted Canelo. Because who's to say that wouldn't have happened to Caleb Plant? Think about what I'm saying. Caleb Plant could have, hey, I messed up my rotator cuff, man, so I can't train right now, but we'll get somebody else in for Canelo. And Canelo was like, you know what? That shit could happen. Now it makes sense, right? Yeah. Think about what I'm saying, because that could have easily happened to Caleb Plant, and then Canelo had to fight this motherfucker because he signed a contract to fight, right? And he knows he wants that slot and he wants that date, so he's stuck on Fox PBC. And what happens? They get him for an extra fight. They could put anybody they want in that slot. Counterpunch. See, that's one of the reasons why we have big fights like Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence falls through. Now Manny Pacquiao has to fight another fighter because he's so fucking gung-ho and my passion, you know what I mean? But understand, he's not 30 years old. He's not even 35. This motherfucker's damn near 43. He'll be 43 on the 14th of December. So he doesn't have all the time to do that. And that's what he's not really factoring in. Like, oh, I get rid of Ugas and then I will fight Errol Spence when his eye gets better. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. If Errol Spence didn't have an eye injury, that's some slick bullshit. Checkmate. Because at the end of the day, that was the play. Okay? But fair play to Al Heyman if he's doing that, because at that point, there's only one belt to get, and that's the WBO. That's if Errol Spence wants to even stick around for that. Because if he gets to Manny, and then Manny's all battered and bruised and worn and torn over Ugas in a tough-ass Ugas fight, and he gets in there and fights Errol, now Errol has an easier time. He's in there with an older Manny Pacquiao. He's in there with a beaten fighter or a battered fighter, a tested fighter like Ugas. Okay? And think about this. This is something else you need to think about. This whole thing has happened before. Think about Sean Porter. Sean Porter took on a tough fight, which I think he lost due to the fact they called the knockdown was not called. The same way Tyson Fury knocked down Deontay Wilder was the same way Ugas knocked down Sean Porter, but he didn't get the nod for a knockdown. So they gave it to Sean Porter. Okay. Well, that was a tough fight for Sean Porter. Then Sean Porter goes right in there with Errol Spence. Now the same formation is happening. The tough fight with Ugas Now you're going to go in there, and after Ugas, you're going to go in there and fight whatchamacallit. And who's to say they won't rob Ugas if Ugas really beats Manny Pacquiao, because the whole idea is, hey, protect Manny Pacquiao, right? But get him a tough enough fight, make sure he wins that fight unless he gets knocked out, God forbids that. Then get him in there with Errol Spence, and Errol Spence goes in and finishes off the job. But anyway, it does seem like it could happen, but then again, I don't know. But who knows? But anyway, you guys tell me what you think. I will leave a poll in the community so you guys can check it out and vote on if it was real or not. Is the eye injury real or was it fake? You guys tell me in that poll. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys have been Counterpunch. Peace.